So welcome everyone. Just to get started this evening, 6 o'clock. So we're very excited to have Mr. Richard Grossi joining us this evening. Mr. Grossi is a experienced ontological coach. You're wondering, what does that mean? It's working with people to identify who they are, how they are, why they are, and how people perceive and receive them. And Richard is also extremely experienced in the education sector, so we are very excited to have an experienced lecturer and business person joining us this evening, hopefully giving you some insights into how to better position yourself as you move through your life and explore various elements of who you are and how to be better received. So, Richard, over to you. You will be running the session this evening. I will be a guest. So Richard may stop throughout the session and invite questions. We just ask that you raise your hand. Richard will remind you. And then once we've read out your name, you can then ask your question. You're welcome to use the chat. Please introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, who you are, and what you're hoping to get from this evening's session. Okay, it's 6:01. So over to you, Richard.
Right, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. Very grand introduction. I'm going to put a few disclaimers out there. I am very much who I am. So I may swear from time to time. I am a lecturer, and so that's just how it goes. But I'd like to invite you to understand the concept of personal branding. Many people have this a bit distorted in their mind. We live in an age where social media and influencers have completely taken over what we feel it is to be branded or how to brand ourselves, when in fact it goes far deeper than that. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey of what I have learned through this process, and hoping that you'll get some insight from it. I'm going to turn my camera off so that I can focus on the presentation. All right, great. So the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look at this picture, and I would like to ask a few people if they could give me some suggestions as to what they think could be happening in this picture. What do you think could happen next? If you look at the little girl, what do you think she's doing? Where do you think she's going? Maybe the dog. What is the dog looking at? Where is the dog going to? What do you think could be happening in this story? Have anybody got any suggestions? Come, guys, come. I'm a lecturer, so I'm going to badger you.
Oh, hi. Are we allowed to?
Yeah, go for it. What do you think's happening? What could be happening in this picture?
I'm gonna be honest with you and just say that I have no idea what's happening, but it looks like wherever the girl's going, she's chasing the sun, and whatever is behind that hill is some sort of happiness. That's what it looks like.
Great, that's beautiful. Okay, somebody else? So the girl is chasing the sun. Anybody other suggestions?
Can I please try?
Go for it.
Okay. This is a book of life, and this girl, she looks like she's walking towards her career path, though it's a bit steepy, but she's moving slowly, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, something like that.
Nice, thank you. That's cool. Anybody else?
Okay. According to the understanding of this book, like if you can see on this book, there's a road with weights, and there's a grad, which is this road actually got weights, which is it shows the way in weights. It's something that is hidden in the book. If you go in this road, it's something that's written in the weights, and if you can go using this road, you'll find something that can make you knowledge. And the dog is on a grass. But in front of the dog, there's something white there, which is the dog is fetching that. You understand? But the girl is fetching for the knowledge in this book.
Cool. Nice. Nice. One more suggestion?
My name
Hi.
is Africa.
Hi.
What I think is that the girl is walking in the path of her career.
Okay.
Like what the student just said. And then I think the dog is some sort of like a distraction that if um this girl like turns and she will be distracted on the path that she's embarking on. Like
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, that very, very cool descriptions. I wanted to push your imaginations a bit further. Did anybody wonder if the girl and the dog were dead and that was heaven? Or maybe the dog was looking at the birds in the sky? So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to bring across is we have three people that commented and three very different interpretations. And they were very imaginative. And what I'm trying to bring across over here is that we all think differently. We don't think the same. Even though we may see or interpret the same things, we don't understand them to be the same. So I'd like to ask you about the story of Red Riding Hood. Does anybody know the story of Red Riding Hood?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me briefly what the story of Red Riding Hood is about?
Okay, as far as I can remember, hi, it's Jumi.
Hi.
It's a girl who's going to visit her grandmother, and she's got a basket full of food, and the wolves are prying, looking for her, and then the wolf goes ahead, hides the grandmother in the closet, pretends to be the grandmother, just so that the wolf can actually eat the girl and whatever the girl has. I think it's eat the girl.
Yep. And, so can I ask you there, who is the good person in the story?
I'd say the girl.
Yeah, who's the bad person?
The wolf.
Great. That is the story that we've all come to know of Red Riding Hood. But what if I had to say to you that maybe the story is wrong? What you've heard is not right. What if I told you that, in fact, the wolf who lived in the forest for years and years would watch the grandmother come out and kill anybody who walked through the woods? And he saw Red Riding Hood coming, and he thought to himself, well, I'm not going to let the grandmother kill another person. So I'm going to kill the grandmother so that this little girl could live. Who would be the good person then?
The wolf.
Who would be the bad person?
The grandmother.
Well, for Red Riding, yeah. No. The wolf would be the good person, Red Riding, and the grandmother, and Red Riding Hood would be the bad. Exactly. So what I'm trying to say over here is that although we have heard stories, we may have heard stories of other people, life, etc., they are just stories. Nobody knows if they're true or not. They do not live in fact. And so depending on what we hear and what we believe, we can either believe something is right or something is wrong. But we don't know whether it's true or not. We only have our own interpretation. And so we live in a world at the moment where we have got so many opinions from brands, from people, from what we're expected to do, what we're expected to believe, what people say are right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false. And as you can see from this image, everything is pointing to teach the truth. We own the truth. We know the truth. And so the whole world a couple of years ago went on this whole tangent of let's go woke. And they changed policies, countries changed regulations, and everything went all over the place. And we see now that companies are retreating and the world is retreating back to what was before the whole woke generation came along. We have companies like Microsoft and Hewlett Packard, etc., who included all of these new policies into their working schedules and have now dropped them all because they discovered that this is not exactly what the world wants. And so those companies almost went broke. We've got a company like Jaguar, who is on the verge of bankruptcy because of accepting policies that they took from the world who said, this is what we want you to believe, versus what they knew was true. And so we often live in a world of stories. And what I want you to think of right now is, what is the story of your life? What is the legacy that you live? Because all of our lives contain hundreds and thousands of little stories that we have believed in, whether they're true or false or right or wrong, whether somebody told us that that was who we were or who we had to be or what we were like, whether it was your parents, a teacher, whether it was an ex, whether you've been hurt. All of those little things have come together to bring forward the story of your life, which means that that is the brand that you live. It doesn't matter how many degrees you've got, how much experience you have, how many friends you've had, or how many people say that they love you. That's irrespective. Who you are today, what you feel inside, is a collection of all your interpretations. So you can imagine, I mean, I know in my life, so many people have said to me, you know, Richard, you've got so much going for you. This is all that you do that is right. You know, you've been such a helping force for other people. Meanwhile, I sit at home and I can go very, very deep and dark into myself and feel pretty worthless at times. Doesn't matter what people tell me. That's how I feel. Because that's what I've come to believe. That's what I've interpreted from my own experiences. That is my brand. And the thing is, no matter what people tell you or how many degrees you have, when you go out into the world, you take yourself with you. You can't divorce yourself from what you feel. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or what beautiful clothes you dress in. What you feel inside will always come out. That is your brand. And so the world asks themselves, who am I? And you'll go to any bookshop and you'll see thousands of books in psychology trying to discover your authentic self. All these famous authors, all talking about the same thing. How do I write the story of my life? Or how do I change who I am? Instead, people should be asking themselves, why am I the way that I am? And so in the world of business, we have things called wicked problems. Wicked problems are things that cannot be solved. So for example, we've got things like pollution. You can't solve pollution. It will never be solved. In the world of medics, we've got HIV/AIDS. You can't solve HIV/AIDS. Those are called wicked problems. However, what we can do is that we can contribute to making those problems easier. So for example, we can go on cleanup missions of the beaches, etc. That is how we help alleviate a wicked problem. And when we believe that we aren't able to do anything to a wicked problem, we think, oh, the world happens to me. But we need to start thinking to ourselves, I am the wicked problem. I am the one who complicates things for myself. So the world doesn't happen to me. I happen to the world. And when we understand that when we take responsibility for how we feel as an individual and what we let come into our lives, what we interpret from situations, we begin to understand that we have an opportunity to change who we are. And so there's this beautiful quote, which I love. And it says, we see things not as they are, but we see things as we are. Because it's the eye behind the eye that does the seeing. So for example, in my life, I've lived very stark contrasts from what people may think. On paper, I'm a very successful person. I have got a master's degree. I lecture in psychology. I lecture in brand strategy. I'm a successful brand strategist. I'm an ontological coach. I coach people in the top Fortune 500 companies. But what people don't know about my story is I also used to be a chronic drug addict for 17 years. That I used to spend 60,000 Rand a month on cocaine. For 17 years, I've been in 5 rehabs. I've been in psychiatric wards. I have been chained to beds because I've been on suicide watch. Crazy things I've done in my life. But people don't see that side of the story because I don't let them see that side of the story. However, that stuff has deeply impacted who I am. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how successful I look on paper. Who I am is who I am. And we can't hide who we are from the world forever. So what I'm about to tell you on how we begin to understand how we are as a brand and how we begin to change who we are is based on all of these famous psych therapies, cognitive behavior therapy, all the way down to feminist theory and narrative theory. All of these come down to one commonality. And this, what I'm about to tell you, is how you begin to take hold of your brand, yourself, and how you begin to change the way and understand what it means to be in charge and author your own brand. This basic model over here gives you everything that you need to know. Your way of being in the world means how is it that you show up to the world? Why is it that you are the way that you are? And it concentrates itself on only 3 very simple things: your language, your emotions, and your body. These all dictate how you're going to act and all the results you're going to see in your life. And I'm going to give you an example. So if my language tonight, inside of my mind, my thoughts, the way I was speaking to other people were, oh, I'm so anxious. I don't want to give this talk tonight. I'm worried people are going to judge me. What are people going to say? I'm tired. I had a long day at work. That's the language. My emotions are all going to be overwhelming. I don't want to do this. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm afraid of what people are going to think. My body, my nervous system is going to put me into complete anxiety. And I'm going to want to shut down. And so every single day, we have different language that goes through our minds. And these languages, I mean, what I'm speaking about in terms of language are all the stories that we think of. So I want you to think for a brief moment over here of the stories that you lived in today. What was the story that you had in your mind when you woke up? Was it, oh, I don't want to get up and go to work. I'm tired. Or my kids are irritating me. Or I can't believe that my boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend did this to me. I'm so irritated with them. Or I'm so angry. I'm so irritated. I'm frustrated. Or I can't wait. Today is going to be so exciting. What were the emotions that ran through you today? And how many stories ran through you? Because I can tell you what, this morning when I woke up, I was like, I don't want to go to work. And when I was at work, I was so like, oh, tired of talking. My emotions were therefore all over the place because I was half in, I was half out. And my body, my nervous system was in a place of resignation. And what that means, resignation means, oh, what's the point? What's the point of even doing this? Nothing changes. And so my actions and behaviors today, because of how I was interpreting the stories of what was running through my mind, were just like, oh, can't wait to get the day done. So how many stories do you run in your minds, and how many different stories? Because I can guarantee you, you're running hundreds of them a day. And we are asked to take hold of our brand. But we can't take hold of our brand if we can't control ourselves. So this is what happens in our way of being. The language
Sorry, Richard.
Yeah.
You've just lost the screen. So if you can just share again, please. Just for our attendees, please don't share.
Can you see it?
Perfect, yes.
So words and thoughts form our language. So as we saw from the Red Riding Hood story, those assessments that we had was that Red Riding Hood was the good one and the wolf was the bad one. However, when we found another part of the story, that changed very quickly. We thought that the wolf was the good one and Red Riding Hood and the grandmother was the bad one, because that's the information that we were given. And so please notice that how quickly our stories can change when we have true information versus when we just think we have the truth. Number two, we assign emotions to the stories that we live in. So whether our stories are right, wrong, good, bad, true, or false, doesn't matter. Your brain doesn't care. It's going to assign us an emotion to it. So I want to give you an example over here. I want you to think of one of your friends' stories that they've told you about somebody that they either like or dislike. And you've never met this person, ever. But your friend has spoken about them and they say, oh, I can't stand this person. How often is it that you find that you can't stand that person either, even though you've never met them? That's how quickly a story and emotion can go together, even though you don't know the truth, because that person could be the best person in the world. You don't know. But your story has given you that emotion. And your nervous system, every time you hear your friend mention that person, you jump on, yeah, I know, they're this, they're that, I can't stand them either, no, oh, you could do much better. And so your whole body is programmed to think in a certain way, even though you don't know whether it's true or not. And so your language is not only the language that you speak, it's also the thoughts that you have in your mind, the assessments, the judgments that you make about people or places or your work or whomever it might be, the stories that you run every day. All of these kick off the various emotions that you have. All those things, you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling like I'm feeling today. Think about what story you're running. It will tell you exactly why you're feeling like you're feeling. Because the thing is that when you live in stories for a long time, suddenly you're going to be in different moods, and we are in different moods all the time. You wake up sometimes in a mood of, oh, I couldn't be bothered about today. Or you wake up in a mood, I'm so excited about today. Think about the mood that you had when you left work. How different that mood was when you left work versus the mood you were in when you woke up. The mood that you were in thinking, okay, cool, the weekend's coming, payday's coming. All your moods change and you don't even have control over them. And all of that happens and is stored in your nervous system. Your nervous system is like a massive library. It never forgets anything. It controls your posture, how you stand, your movement, your heart rate, your breathing. When you're anxious, your breathing is quick. When you're relaxed, your heart rate goes lower and you breathe easier. All of these things change and happen to you without you even thinking, but they can all be triggered back to your language. Your language, what you say and what you think about yourself, your ability, your capability, is your brand. Nothing else matters. Story starters. So just to just to go back to the very beginning, your stories are just assessments. And we label situations, people, ourselves, the world, our thoughts, we label them as good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no. And we don't even know whether they're the truth. How many times have you looked back on your life at a situation and you thought to yourself, what was I thinking? I know I've done that, especially with exes. There have been times where in my life I've been devastated at a breakup. This was the person for me. And years later, I look back and think, oh my God, what was I thinking? What makes that story different now versus then? I'm still the same person. That person's still the same person. My interpretation changed. So when we are emotionally charged, when we put emotions to our stories and our beliefs, we suddenly call them our truth, or we say, this is my reality. And you would be right. It is your reality because it doesn't live in the world. It's not real. Because 99% of all your assessments, your judgments are false because you do not have concrete evidence. In order for your assessments to be true, you would need to be able to prove them without any fail. So when I say that, where's your evidence? I'm saying that you should be able to take your assessments, your thoughts to a court of law and present them with evidence, and for the whole court to say, we have enough evidence to say that your thoughts, your opinions are 100% true. And if you are not able to do that, it means that your stories are not true. Because your assessments, the way that you think about yourself, is your identity. And your identity is your brand. When we look at moods and emotions, I want you to look at these 4 images in front of you. Can you tell what moods or what emotions are going through these different people without them even saying anything? What they might be thinking or feeling? Because as I said earlier on with the body in that diagram, your nervous system stores everything. So whether you think you're not thinking it or think you're not showing how you feel, your body's already showing it. It's coming out in your face. It's coming out in the language you use. It's coming out in your fear, your anxiety, the way that you go through life, the way that you think about yourself. You can't hide what you think or what you feel. And so instead of asking yourself, why am I the way that I am? You should be asking yourself a very different question. Not why am I? Who am I? Because why you are the way that you are is because of who you believe that you are. And who you believe that you are is due to the stories that you keep on telling yourself day in and day out. You know, I'll tell you a story about myself, and I want to show you how quickly things can change. When I was at school, I was very much a rebel. Very, very much. I was uncontrollable, definitely. And I was in the lowest class in my whole school. There were 1,200 boys in my school, and I was in the lowest class, and I came second to bottom out of 1,200 boys. So I came 1,998 for years in the whole school for every grade I was in. And I believed that I was stupid. I really did. Until there was this English teacher that I had in standard 8. And we had to write an essay. And because I use words very well, I think deeply. I wrote this essay about my thoughts, and she pulled me aside and she said to me, "This is outstanding. I've never read anything that is so in depth like this? Do you know how talented you are? And I was like, oh, please, man. And she said to me, I'm serious, Richard. And from then on, I started to believe something different. I won the prize for English at the end of that year. And I no longer believed I was stupid. I went from there to being published at a university when I was 20 years old. However, the story changed again. I got involved in drugs. I lived a life of insanity. I used to go visit my parents in California because they used to live there half the year. And I'd go missing for days at a time, 5 days at a time, because I'd be in a nightclub on the floor somewhere, bleeding out my nose. And my whole life, my whole brand collapsed. Until one day I came back after a lot of experiences and I had to take hold of my brand again. And I had to build it up. And I had to believe in myself again. From almost destroying my life, I got chosen out of 45,000 people to be 1 in 50 on an M.B.A program. From there, I decided to study ontology, and I took hold of my life and my drug addiction. I began to make a difference in other people's lives because I changed my story. And so I want to ask you today, when you think about who you are or who you want to be, what story is it that you are running? Because whatever it is what you will believe. So you need to become a very acute observer of yourself. Pay attention to your language, feel your emotions, and notice how they impact your body. Allow yourself to detach from your thoughts and your emotions. Remember that what you're thinking and what you're feeling is not true. It's only true to you. And remember, unless you have an overwhelming amount of evidence, you've got to let that go. And if you can't understand or you can't come up with all the different stories that you might be going through, all you have to do is go to your body. Where do you feel your tension? Is it in your shoulders, your back? Because that's where your nervous system is storing all these emotions. You've got to allow it to rest. You've got to always engage in self-coaching. Ask yourself, what's going on for me? What do I want to be? Where am I? Because there you will have the start of the answer. And that is the end of the presentation that I wanted to give you on how to take charge of your personal brand. So I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Richard. Excellent presentation. We can open the floor now for comments.
Yeah, go for it, Joyful.
Good evening.
Hi.
Sure, that was a mouthful and a half. Good information. I'm very intrigued. Very, very happy I joined this class. I mean, honestly, I rushed home from work like a bullet. I needed to be here. Yes, with regards to branding yourself, I think we get so consumed by what the world tells us to be that we lose our true essence. I always go back to personally, because I'm on this lovely personal journey where I've literally lost myself with what the world demands of me, and now I'm trying to rebuild my brand. And with understanding my brand, I need to go back to the basics. I think that's what I've been doing in terms of figuring out who I am, where I come from, speaking to my identity, my history, my culture, speaking to what do I have in terms of the gifts that I have, because in my culture, being Zulu, they say that you're born with gifts and you carry them in your hands, hence why your hands are closed most of the time when you're born. So whatever gift that I was designed to share with the world, I need to figure that out, and that is my purpose. And looking at that and looking at how my journey has transitioned from studying psychology to teaching to now finding myself in HR, then dabbling in public speaking, Whatever I do is all about imparting knowledge on others. So coming to this and yeah, and it does, because your life speaks on resilience, and constantly, because you're on survival mode, because the world forces you to be in situations to practice that, it becomes your DNA. And you always have this thing of bouncing back, even though you don't know how you're bouncing back, but you do. I'm just listening to your story, and I appreciate it so much, because yes, you are a deep person, because you've had to go through so much so soon, and at a young age, and it grooms you and it grounds you. I think yes, it is 17 years for those looking on the outside saying, oh my goodness, 17 years lost. No, it's not. It's 17 years of restoration. It's 17 years of challenges, 17 years of pulling yourself together towards yourself, putting yourself, which most people haven't mastered, and they've lived what I would see as fair lives, but they don't have it.
Sure.
They don't have that agility.
Sure. And I want to say to you also is that, like, your path that you're on right now, that you this whole journey that you're on, and the ability that you are able to see my life from that perspective, speaks to something called an existential intelligence. And it's a very rare form of intelligence. And you have that. You are able to see deeper and feel deeper. And that's a very rare thing. And the thing about people like you and me is we feel things very, very deeply. And it's the important thing here is for us to not get too lost in that story also of I need to go deeper and deeper and deeper, because you know what? You'll never find the bottom.
There is no bottom.
No, there's no bottom. There's no bottom. Even though we like to think we'll eventually find it, it's like we're not explorers. We're not God. We've got to let it go and let God in these situations.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Rian?
Hi, good evening.
Hey.
I'm Rian from Cape Town.
Awesome.
And I've just listened to your story that reached Tenate, and it's so amazing. I mean, it's like you say, and all these illustrations that you pointed out Tenate. I mean, I found myself unemployed, nearly going into 2 years in that. And the amount of effort that you need to build your own story Tenate, getting up, and it's great the way you just pointed out Tenate, your actions, your emotions, and all these things, kind of plays a pivot role in how your story ends at the end of the day. And recently, I've been on social media platforms and I saw this IQ, and it's like, maybe this is what I need to do. And it's just about, creating that positivity in that day. And I went out and I went to go cycle. I came back, and it's like, now and today's the day. And I've signed up, and eventually look at where I come from, my career in that day, and and ever since I've been on this journey to pursue this qualification in that day. It's like what you input, all the negative that you input and that you get from other people, Nati, that is how your story, as you just pointed out, that's how your story is just going to end. But if you decide today, you know what, you're going to make a change in your personal life, this is what you're going to be doing, and that you don't have to broadcast it out on a social platform, as your story. What do you want? How do you want it to end?
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I found myself here, and just like you show in this nutshell, it's amazing, Nati. And thank you so much to each and everyone.
Rian, what's so wonderful about listening to you speak is that you've taken responsibility, and that is the hardest step for anybody to take, is to say, you know what, I'm going to be that change. And it takes an extremely strong person. It's irrespective of where you found yourself in any stage of life. It takes an exceptionally strong person to take responsibility for their life. So well done to you.
Thanks, eh?
Yeah, Sipho.
Hi, guys. I'm Nomkhosi. So with me, right, I've heard your story and it's amazing and well done to you and all that you've been through and just for getting through it. So I'm quite young right? Just started my career and decided to study this year. And it's been quite not as hard as it would have been had I like gone like the physical and the normal route. So I've been adjusting quite easily, right? But I've had some difficulties in other spheres of my life. You see, that there are things that I used to do, and those things were quite easy for me. I'm going to use a loose example of the gym. You know, used to go to the gym every day. I was that girl. It was an easy thing for me. However, I kind of stopped. Life happened. Life was a lot. Work was a lot. I stopped, right? And now I'm trying to get back into doing that and being that person again because it gave me so much joy. I was a better person and a better person to each and every person in my life. So I've stopped and I've tried like maybe doing one workout, but going back to the routine of how I was doing things, it's quite hard. And I know the reality of if I do go work out and if I am consistent, this is how my life would look like and this is how it would make me feel. Right. But knowing the truth and doing the actual thing is quite hard. So I just wanted your insight on that, knowing what we are meant to do and
Yeah.
the impact that would have on our lives,
Sure.
and then starting and being consistent and actually holding ourselves accountable
Yeah.
and being able to say, let me just do this for the long run and not really reverting back to how
It's
we
just
used to
so
do things.
interesting that you mentioned this specific example because I find myself in that specific situation. You know, for years and years after coming out of that lifestyle, I devoted myself to the gym and like I was there 4 days a week, personal trainers, healthy diets, dietitians, and for the last year, that entire thing has collapsed. I can barely make it to the gym once every 2 weeks, and when I'm there, I can't stand it. I just want to get home. Whereas I used to live for it. And I spent the last year really beating myself up for letting myself go. And it's only over the last couple of months that I've had to actually realize, well, the story changed for me when I realized that, you know what, life happens to us, you know, and situations sometimes take precedence over others. And so the challenge for me was learning to live in acceptance. What is it that I'm refusing to accept? Well, I don't need to have this incredible body and this incredible gym and balance, etc., etc. I need to take care of what's important for me right now. What's important for you right now is your career. What's important for you right now is actually finding the life balance that you need. And when that comes into balance and when that time comes, you will be able to take on more. You know, it's like an example of this. I have a lot of clients who say to me, you know, Richard, the things in my past, you know, they haven't bothered me until recently. I don't know why they're coming up right now. And I say to them, you know what? It's because our bodies, our psychology only allows us to take care of certain things when we are ready to take care of certain things. And that applies to everything in our life. So that balance that you're looking for, that responsibility that you're looking for, doesn't live outside there in the gym. It lives inside with you in the acceptance of, let me be responsible to myself. I've got to live X, Y, and Z way of life right now. Doesn't mean it's forever, but right now I've got to do what I've got to do. And that's okay. That's acceptable. That's good by me right now. And I'm going to accept that with gratitude. And you know what? When your life becomes a bit easier, you can start incorporating everything. But what you're doing right now is you beating yourself up for trying to live up to this perfect idea that you have in your mind of who you should be. And that perfect person doesn't exist. So let go of what you think and just welcome what is right now and just let yourself be at peace for now.
No, that's lovely. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Okay, Richard Sippo is in the wings.
Good evening.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was listening to what you have said now that you should let go what you think and be yourself. So I think with my side, thank you so much for the presentation
Oh.
and for this session. It was really wonderful. and I'm busy walking around the street carrying my phone. I'm like, you know what? Nothing will happen. I just want to take some notes on this. And what really struck me, it was the presentation where you've touched on, am I a wicked, or problem, I have a wicked problem, or am I a wicked problem? And when I was looking at it, I remember when I was going through depression myself, I was telling myself that, no, I'm really depressed, but I don't want to see a therapist. I don't want to see a psychologist. I'll be fine. And the reason being, it was because I'm in a psychosocial space, being an activist or a community developer. People expect you to be there for them. And my deep question, it was, who is saving me? How am I going to put a stop on this side? Because of my personal brand, because of being a public figure in my little community, and you can't show any of your weakness sign where you are probably sad or aggressive and whatever, but maintaining that. But until the point where I think I was in a hospital, my anxiety was really up. I was just standing up and down. And one of the nurses was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm suffering from anxiety. I don't know whether I'm depressed or what." And then when I went to a doctor, before I started to mention other things, I was like, "Can you please refer me to a psychologist?" Isn't like today, because I have anxiety, and I know if you're going to check my BP and whatever, you'll expect a result. And the doctor applauded me. It was like, people, they don't do that. But because of you've taken an accountability for what you're going through, it truly shows the resilience in you. Absolutely. So in changing that am I wicked? Because I always blame myself. And I think therapy helped me a lot to this point. Even if, like, when I share this to other people, they become very shocked that, "Oh, you went to a therapist." Do you? I admit that. It could be only other people, but I truly inspired about also your story that it could be 17 years, but at the end of the day, you will reach that certain goal of finding yourself and being who you are. And I think it is also really much important to ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing such an amazing work? And I think out of everything, when I look at the achievements that I have accomplished during my depression time or during my struggle time, today when I sit down, I'm like, oh wow, am I engaging with internationals? Why? Is because we tend to pause or limit our abilities or ourselves because of the little crying baby in us. But Absolutely. Thank you so much for this session.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think what you bring forward is a very valid point, and I relate to it in so many aspects. Like after the first year of being sober, I became that poster boy for sobriety and for psychology, and I actually relapsed very badly, and I was too scared to tell anybody, and I didn't get the help that I needed for a very long time. And I had to realize that in order to be honest to myself, I needed to be true to myself and own that story, and not allow other people to take hold of my own story. And so what you did was an awesome achievement and self-responsibility. So well done to you. Yes, Patience.
Hi. Can I ask you a personal question?
Of course you can. I love personal questions.
And I'll say to you that, okay, I'm very nervous. My heart is pounding.
Oh, please don't be.
Asking you this question because it's not close to home, it is home.
Sure.
That's what's happening to me right now. So after deciding that you want to stop using drugs, how did you mend the relationships that you messed up along the way while you were on drugs? And what were your expectations in terms of how people reacted to you now being this whole new person who is wanting to do better in life. What did you expect from the rest of us? Like how could I put this?
I think I know what you're trying to say. I think I know what you're saying. I get you. I get you quite clearly.
And do you consider me after that? Do you know what you put me through? Do you understand?
I get that. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, you know, when I had so many failed attempts. I had gone to rehab 5 times. I had relapsed on the way back from rehab. So, you know, nobody actually took me seriously. And I had to realize eventually, and this realization came to me one night when I had come home from some club and I used 8 grams of coke that night. I drank 2 bottles of wine at home. I took 40 sleeping pills and I slit my wrists. And I woke up on my veranda the next morning and the blood had congealed. And I somehow somehow I didn't die from that overdose. And I looked at the sky and I screamed at God and I said to him, I'm going to let you love me. And I'm not going to accept anything else. And I'm going to accept your forgiveness and your love. And I'm going to let that determine who I am. And I walked through that first year of recovery with nobody believing a thing I said. I would say to my folks, my parents, I'm 1 month clean, I'm 2 months clean. And they wouldn't say a thing. They would be like, oh yeah. And friends wouldn't take me seriously. And I had to realize that this story, this life that I was leading, my recovery was exactly that. It was mine. The story was mine. I didn't need people to participate in it anymore because people don't believe what you say to them, and they shouldn't. I don't believe what people say to me, but I believe the behavior that I see over a period of time. So when we consistently behave in a certain way and we do it over a period of time, people start to believe what they see. They don't believe what they hear. And yes, there were relationships that I had messed up because I had done terrible things, but I needed to learn self-forgiveness because, you know, in those days, I wasn't responsible to myself. How could I possibly be responsible to anybody else? And so that acceptance and that forgiveness I felt I needed from the world had to come from me first. It had to come from deep inside of me to accept that I wasn't in charge of my thoughts, my minds, and emotions. I wasn't the person who I was on drugs. The things that I used to do on drugs, and they were terrible, I would never do if I was sober. And I only did them because I was in a place of desperation and hurt. And you know what? In time, people would see my reactions. And as long as I was behaving consistently, true to myself every day, that was the most important thing that I needed.
Okay. I've got a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to flip the script. Now, you've done things while you were an addict, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, you've hurt people that are very close to you. Let me say you've hurt your sister. Your sister that doesn't, let's say I'm your sister. Patience doesn't drink. She's never. Patience doesn't do drugs. She's never done drugs.
Yeah.
So in your drug abusive state, you've hurt me in ways that are very unimaginable.
Deep.
Yes, you've hurt me by the things that you've said to me. You know, you dented my confidence. You completely killed my ego, and you made me feel like I'm nothing. Even although I'm the one person that was always trying to support you whenever you were trying to get off of drugs. Whenever you get into trouble, I'm the one that's always picking you up and whatnot. But the same person, you were the same person that was hurting that person physically, even sometimes. But most of the time. So now that you're a great person and you can hold seminars and webinars and talk about your story, and you left me in this dark hole. What do you say to that patient that's now left in this dark hole, and now brother is now off of the drugs and making a killing of his life and telling his story in such a beautiful way and pressing people and giving
How do you
hope.
make good? How do you make good to your sister?
And then what about me that you left in a ditch?
There's only a few options that you have here, and I can hear how deeply this has cut you. The only thing that you can do to those types of people that you've hurt is apologize to them and say to them, what I did and what I said and how I acted was not a reflection of you. It was a reflection of the pain that I was in. I want you to forgive me. I love you. I would do anything to take it back. Unfortunately, I can't. Will you allow me? Will you give me that chance to prove to you that that's not who you are? Give me the chance to prove to you that what I'm saying and how I'm acting right now is really who I am and the truth. Aside of that, you can't do anything.
But then again, sorry, can I disturb you? Yeah. Then again, this is the problem I always have with people that were on drugs and then stuff. It's you always make it about you. I'm asking you a question about me, the person that you've hurt. I'm not talking about the apology. I'm talking about how do you mend me? How do you not even?
Well, you can't. You can't.
You assisting me to mend.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
To be the person that I used to be.
No, there's nothing you can do in that situation. All the person can do is offer you their apology and prove to you. There's a person can't go back and change another person's psychology. It's like, for example, if you come from an abusive family when you were a young child and your parents were very abusive to each other or to the children, you can't go back to your childhood and change that. All you can do is change the story that you believe right now. That's all you can do. And, it's challenging. Of course it is. But again, remember that the stories that you continue to live in can be reauthored by yourself. You've got to accept certain things. And you've got to realize that certain people in those states were not in charge or not in control. And yes, they've done terrible things, but that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of the mindset the person was in. And so you need to take control of your own story and live your life on what you believe is true about you and never on what other people say or do to you. If I lived my life based on how people have treated me in the past and I've been in hectic situations, I'd be dead. I'd be dead a long time ago. But I had to lose everything in order to rediscover who I was. And those people who hurt me terribly, in some ways, in a very sick, thwarted way, really helped me because they made me understand the only thing that was important. And that was me and what I thought of me. That's a tough one, but I get you.
Thank you, Patience. Tuso, you are up.
Tuso, do you want to chat? If so, your mic is not on. Okay. Let me see if I can unmute you. I'm not able to, unfortunately. Is there anybody else?
I can't unmute. I can't unmute him either. Sorry.
Is there anybody else that would like to ask a question? Okay. Okay, yes, there's somebody. Putela?
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. Hi everyone. Sorry about that. Just got I'm on the way. I just stopped for a while.
Oh.
My name is Tuso from Pretoria.
Yeah.
Live in Centurion.
Cool.
Don't really have much to say. all I can say is I hear you, Richard. Your story is quite touching. In some aspects, I've went through some challenges that you went through, apart from the drugs and everything. My addiction was gambling. Yeah. So I can say they quite relate because it's an addiction.
It's exactly the same thing. I get you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say hello to everyone and thank you. I feel honored to be in this class with everyone. It's an interesting class. So thank you, Richard. Thank you for the story. It made me feel much better about myself in a way. I know it's a bad story, but
no, it's great. It's
at
amazing.
Least I feel that I wasn't alone in this world.
That's brilliant. I love that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Anybody else? Turn your mic on. Pat?
It's Kutala next. Kutala, I don't think you're audible.
He left his question on the chat box.
Okay, perfect.
The next person.
Are you able to see it, Richard? Are you able to see the question?
Oh, let me see. Hold on a sec.
Breaking inconsistency.
Do you have any advice? How to break inconsistency. Yeah, it's a challenge. It really is a challenge. Inconsistency becomes a way of life. It becomes a mood. So the thing with inconsistency is that it becomes something that your nervous system has stored because you keep on telling yourself that you're inconsistent or you're not achieving or you can't achieve or what's the point of doing it? It's not going to work out is the last one. So basically, inconsistency, you start to challenge that by actually rewriting that story. What is it about the consistency that you want? What feelings, what emotions would that bring to you? How would that make you feel? And what is it that stops you from getting there? Because in order to come up to different solutions, we've got to ask ourselves different questions. And instead of asking ourselves the whole time, oh, why, we've got to ask ourselves what? What can we do? And if we find we can't do the what is stopping us from doing it? And you'll find that it's actually always a belief, a very wrong belief, a distorted belief. And you've got to tackle that belief because that belief is an assessment and that assessment is not true. Because if you were ever in your life consistent with anything, it means that consistency is actually part of your DNA. Inconsistency is just a story that has gone in the wrong direction. And you've got to tackle that story and engage in a different way. It's as simple as that. And yet it's the hardest one. I get you. Any other questions?
There's a question from the chat from Lorato. I'll just read it to you quickly. How do I deal with the anxiety of failing? I've just been promoted at work and have few projects that are on my table, but other people are delaying me.
Yeah, and you termed it very well over there, because what you've said over here is the anxiety of failing. It's because what you're doing is you're living in expectations. You're living in a certain category of I'm expected to do X, Y, and Z. And if I don't do X, Y, and Z, then I'm not doing what. And if I'm not doing that, people are going to see that I'm not doing that. If I'm not doing that, then I'm a failure. I'm an imposter syndrome. Has anybody said to you at work that you are failing? Has anybody said to you at work, you're not doing this correctly? Why are you even here? Because from what you said over here, you've just been promoted. So to me, it sounds like you are doing pretty well, that people are seeing that you're actually really forward thinking and really ambitious and you can really do this. Other people are believing in you because of what you show them. The imposter is you. The only one that seems to be failing right now is how you are telling yourself that you're failing. So anxiety is a result of us living in the future. Things that have never happened yet. We live anxiously anticipating that they're going to happen. But how many times have we lived in the future anxious that something is going to happen when it never ever does? So what you're doing right now is you've got to take that story of I'm not good enough or I'm not living up to my own expectations and ask yourself, where are your facts? Where is the evidence? And if you have no evidence that you're failing, you've got to realize that that story of anxiety is just that. It is a story. It is not real.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for that question, Lorato. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands, and it is just after 7. So I think at this stage we can probably call it an evening. Thank you to everybody that stayed, and most of all, thank you to our presenter, Richard. So I know you have your camera off at this time, but I just wanted to say on behalf of RQ, we're very excited that we were able to host you this evening, and judging by the feedback, it's been a really valuable session. So thank you so much, Richard.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Can
your
I just
time.
leave you guys with one last thing? Is what I want you to do when you're challenged with fear, anxiety, or limited self-belief, ask yourself different questions that are aligned with possibility and curiosity. Ask yourself, I'm curious to see how I would feel if X, Y, and Z happened. Live in possibility. That's the way that you can challenge limiting beliefs. But guys, from my side, it's been awesome to have had the experience of being here with you. It's been a great session. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your emotions. They were raw, they were true, they were real. And I'm so honored to have been a part of any of those stories that you guys have all shared. And they are all real. You are all so valid in having them. And the end of the day, it is what it is that makes us human, and we all have them. So you're not alone ever. So thank you very much for this evening.
Thank you, Richard. Fantastic.
Cool.
Fantastic evening. We'll definitely have you back in the new year. I can see lots of comments. Please, another one. So we'll definitely be seeing you again soon.
Great.
Thank you for your
guys.
support of our students this evening.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody. I'll be
Thanks.
closing the chat now and gradually exiting you from the session. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, Amy.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Night, all.
Good night.
Love it. Bye, everybody. You can exit.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Emmy.
Bye.